Mary had a little man.
It's okay.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Do you think it's okay to have a president, though, where there's this open question about whether or not he's in cognitive decline?
Do you think it was okay to have President Trump in cognitive decline for his entire 4 years?
Yay! Pramila!
I gotta say, she is tough. Every time they try to jump her, it doesn't go well for them. Every time.
It's just like, oh, wow. They're loaded for bear. Everybody understands that tonight is the make or break thing, right? We all get it. This is going to be the most watched press conference since, I don't know. I don't think we've ever had a press conference that was more watched than this one. I just don't. It's going to be like the OJ verdict. Do you know what I'm saying? It's going to be like every single voter in this country, because 51 million people tuned into that debate. And, you can't, Peter Welch, who is the senator from Vermont, he has called on Joe Biden to be selfless and remove himself from consideration. But, Peter, you're 77, just saying. So what is going on? What actually is that? I don't know. We'll find out tonight. The press conference is going to be at 6:30 this evening. I'm going to guess it's going to go on for about a half an hour. And then, of course, he has to take a nap, which is fine. Come on. Do you remember Ronald Reagan? Does anybody remember? Ronald Reagan did nothing but take naps and eat jelly beans. I have always said that I have this very, very sneaky feeling that H.W. was president a lot longer than you might think he was. Now, Biden does not have Alzheimer's, nor does he have anything that has been diagnosed. So all of this, piling on is because we saw what we saw, and you can't. Peter Welch says, well, I can't unsee it. Now, that's like really dramatic. You can't unsee it. You're talking about it like it was a train wreck. It was a train wreck, but it wasn't a train wreck. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody got killed. Nobody got hurt. Nobody, we didn't even lose any precious cargo. We didn't even lose any, ammonia. Like nothing seeped out. So anyway, tonight is a very, very big night. It's a make or break night for President Joe Biden, who has been a phenomenal president, and everybody says so. Even the people that are saying, that he should withdraw. And I will tell you this is an amazing factoid for me, I got to say. So it reminds me of the movie The American President in this weird way, okay? President Andrew Shepard decided that he was going to date Sidney Allen Wade, as we all know. And so the entire country started to turn on President Andrew Shepard because they had accepted President Andrew Shepard as a grieving widower. And now all of a sudden his love life was showing some signs of life. And that was bad. America couldn't handle it. And so Michael J. Fox's character, who was sort of the George Stephanopoulos in all of this. By the way, Peter, since you are 77 years old and you started your last term in 2023, when you're done serving Vermont in this wonderful way that you do, and I mean that sincerely from the bottom of my main muscle, I really do. But when you're done with your current term, you will be exactly the age that President Joe Biden is, 81. So my best advice to you is avoid debates if you're going to run for re-election at that point, at that portion of your life, and avoid George Stephanopoulos. That's all I can think to tell you as, by way of advice. But in this movie, The American President, the George Stephanopoulos character, the Michael J. Fox, who has Parkinson's in real life. And, I would vote for him to be president. Truly. So I don't know what the big damn deal is about, anyway, it's a disease. I get it. However, they said, Mr. President, without Sidney Allen Wade in the polling, the numbers mean nothing. And so President Andy Shepard actually selflessly said, okay, poll it, put him in there. Put her in there. And I want you to understand that Joe Biden has done the same thing today with Kamala Harris. Okay? Just in case you need the data, whatever. Because you do have Democrats right now who are saying that they need proof that Joe Biden can win. Joe Biden needs to provide evidence that he can beat Donald Trump. Well, in that particular matchup, Joe Biden is 1-0, which means he's undefeated. Just saying. Okay, but they want, like, what have you done for me lately? They want it now. They want, what do you mean? But now, we need proof now, right? So he agreed to put Kamala Harris into the polling to see if Kamala polls better, if Kamala does better. Because if, God forbid, this press conference doesn't go well, and it could very well not go well. It really could not go well. And so if it doesn't go well, they want the data that would, allow them to say Kamala is a formidable candidate and she can beat Donald Trump. So they put her in the polling. And I think that's very selfless. And I think that's very forward thinking. And I think that is kind of the thing that if George Washington had pollsters, like if he had Fernand Armandi at his disposal, he probably would have, done the same. Before he, said for the best, result for the peaceful transfer of power and to demonstrate that it's possible and that it's really effortless as long as you have people who put the law above themselves. I am not going to run for a third term. And so, he stepped aside. But I mean, honestly, we need to know, like, who could step in, God forbid. Now, I would say that Joe Biden decided years ago, like 4 years ago, to be exact, that should something happen to him, Kamala Harris was ready to go to be president of the United States. Otherwise, I got to say, I don't think he would have picked her to be beep, because that's what a vice president does. The vice president is there as an insurance policy. The vice president is there, and she's now been vice president for 3 years. Never mind her record before that. She was a United States senator and a really good one. You remember all her questioning of Bill Barr and every single Supreme Court nominee. I mean, the woman was just, awesome. She's a fabulous prosecutor. She was attorney general of the great state of California for 44 million people, okay? And, now all of a sudden they're like, well, we don't know if she's ready. We don't this, we don't that. And what about the women? Will the women vote for the... Oh, just be quiet about it. You know what? It's just focus on what we're up against, please. Just have a little look-see at Donald Trump, will you please? And he's supposed to be the high-functioning person in this race. I mean, the man is bizarro world. And now he, of course, he's a liar. There's no question that if his pie hole is, opening and closing, he's lying. I mean, it's just what it is. So now he's trying to distance himself from this Project 2025, which is horrendous. It's the Handmaid's Tale on steroids. I mean, it literally, it destroys Medicare. I just want you to know that. I just want you to know. Project 2025, they wrote the freaking thing down. This is how blatant they are. This is how in your face they are about stealing from you the rest of, the tranches of money, the Medicare Trust Fund. So their idea is this, okay, and it is in Project 2025. Their idea is to force all of us who are on Medicare into Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is private health insurance. It's not Medicare, which we've all paid into and we earned, okay? They want us to actually choose Medicare Advantage, which is private health insurance, which actually allows for them to deny services because it's private. It also allows them to require pre-authorization for tests, which if you're in Medicare, if you're not in Medicare, you don't know the best. It's the freaking greatest thing. I had Obamacare for years and years. And it was expensive, but it saved my life. I had cancer. It got me through it. Blah, blah, blah. You know the deal, right? Okay. Medicare is like, woohoo. I think the deductible is $174 a year. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Like your first visit to your primary, your deductible is met. And then the rest of the year, I mean, you get tended to, you get seen, you get tests if the doctor orders it. It's not like you have to go to an insurance company and ask them permission to have an MRI of your brain, But trust me, Project 2025 is evil. It's maniacal. It's ugly. Because if they did away with Medicare, they could steal the trust fund. I'm telling you, in chaos, they can steal. How many times have I said it? But now I think it makes real sense, doesn't it? So can we just focus on what we're up against there? Really? Can we? Can we just look over there?
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Our country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. This is a great group, and they're going to lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do and what your movement will do when the American people give us a colossal mandate to save America. And that's coming. That's coming.
Save America. Inflation is like 1 percentage point within the target, right? It's 3% today. Okay. Inflation is so almost completely under control that the Fed is actually starting to discuss whether or not to lower interest rates yet again and bring everything back to normal, like pre-COVID. You know what I'm saying? It's like amazing. Biden's record is it's banging. It's really good. And so if they want to run on the economy, they lose. You understand that because the economy is great. The report today, there was an inflation report, CPI. It was magnificent, truly.
Inflation dipping in June with consumer prices rising just 3% in the last 12 months. Now, that is lower than analysts expected. Actually, the lowest inflation has been since 2021. Joining us now, NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans. Christine, great news, obviously. How soon could Americans actually feel this change?
They're already starting to feel it. When you look inside these numbers, you can see that 3% rate, inflation rate, is actually the lowest in about 3 years. And when you look month on month, this is really important, prices fell 0.1%. They fell for gasoline, gas, a really big part of the equation here. Look at energy prices, year over year, up just 1%, but month to month down pretty sharply. Appliance prices fell. You saw prices for airlines fall. You saw a bunch of different categories that had actual declines in that sticker price. So over the past couple of months, there has been some relief for people, quite frankly, on certain kinds of items. Now, not for shelter, though. Housing, those prices still remain pretty high here overall. So the overall inflation story, it isn't over. It isn't vanquished. 3%, by the way, is still higher than the Federal Reserve would like to see, of course, but it is the coolest, honestly, in years. 3% is the coolest in 3 years. In fact, remember that 9% inflation rate that was so terrible back in 2021? This is a dramatic improvement from that. So this feeds into, Anna, the idea that the Fed is starting to see a shift in the economy, the Federal Reserve, and it might be able to start easing interest rates maybe as soon as this fall. And cutting interest rates would be relief for a lot of American families and businesses, frankly, especially small businesses who've seen these higher rates sort of hurt their day-to-day bottom line. So watching these numbers, it feeds into the idea that the economy is still solid, it is still sturdy, but it is not red hot and overheating. And it would allow the Fed maybe to take its foot off the brake a little bit and start to cut those interest rates that have been so high, Anna.
Okay, so we could continue down that road and build housing and make sure that housed people are a priority in the next administration, which I'm pretty sure it will be. Or we can monitor your pregnancies. These are our choices. This is where we are. We could monitor your pregnancy. Oh, I don't make this crap up. This was Jason Miller, literally on the TV, right?
He wouldn't support monitoring pregnancies even if a state decided to do that.
Okay, that was a Newsmax question. You wouldn't support monitoring pregnancies even if a state wanted to do that. The answer might shock you.
Well, he's made it very clear that he's not going to go and weigh in and try to push various states and how they want to go and set up their particular rules and restrictions. That's going to be up to the states.
Oh, so he's neutral on states monitoring your pregnancy. The wannabe president, again, of the United States is neutral about whether or not your state could violate your privacy rights to the point where you have to report on an app, I'm guessing, your periods or your pregnancy or your ultrasound. And I guess they'll put you on a list to decide whether or not you can be tended to by an OBGYN in your state or not. whether you have to, I don't know. I don't even know what the point of that is. But this is where, I mean, so we could talk about the economy. We could talk about housing. We could talk about prices. We could talk about interest rate. We can move forward. We can actually, F-16s are now on their way to Ukraine. Finally. Yay. This NATO thing was awesome. It really was. It was an amazing 75th anniversary. Yes, overshadowed by a whole bunch of people unable to unsee a bad debate. Listen, I get it. He's old. Okay, there's no question. But does he function at a higher level with regard to policies and positions than Donald John Trump? You betcha. Like I said, if Joe Biden tonight does well and says, okay, that's it, I'm your nominee, and everybody will line up behind him, trust me, they will. Because the threat to us is so huge. It's so gargantuan. It's such a change in American life, this Project 2025. It's such a complete earth-shattering change from freedom into something not freedom. It's fascism, okay, is what it is. It's corporate domination. And, the idea that the Republicans were just so freaked out about the Inflation Reduction Act. Do you remember why? Okay, so let me refresh. Not one single GOP member, not one single Republican voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, which, by the way, is performing magnificently, and especially on this front. The thing that they were so upset about was 87,000 IRS agents. Remember that? Remember how freaked out they were? Oh, they're going to come after you, and he's going to weaponize the. So here's what the IRS was able to do. It identified 1,600 taxpayers who made more than $1 million in income a year, who were more than $250,000 in arrears to the IRS with the new influx of experts at the IRS, right? And they were able to drill down and audit and have those people come in and show receipts or show why they were $250,000 in tax debt when they made over $1 million a year. And they had been in tax debt for many years at this point, right? And they were able to claw back $1 billion. $1 billion for us, for our treasury, for our, for our, benefit, for the United States benefit. And that was the Inflation Reduction Act's biggest contribution so far to making sure that we collected taxes. Now, if Donald Trump comes, you already know what he'll do. He will spend another $5 trillion, put it on your tab, and lower taxes for these same millionaires and billionaires. And the corporate gouging will return to normal. Seriously. So, do we want to continue to say that the undefeated champion in the arena of beating Donald Trump at the ballot box needs to have a second look? Fine. Look 3 times. I don't care. And continue his policies? Or do we want Project 2025 that'll monitor your pregnancies and give $5 trillion in tax cuts to the people who need them the least? I mean, really, these are the choices. And everybody's, you have to make it personal. Yeah, being president is all about a personal relationship. No, it's not. It's about an administration and their policies. Plus, I think Joe Biden is okay.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
All right, talk to me. Tell me your hopes and dreams and your concerns. Tell me how terrified we all are. Max in Oregon.
Hey, Randy, I love your show, and thanks for having me on.
Sure.
My topic's real quick, all right? I don't think Biden can win in a re-election. To me, this is all like a bad episode of The West Wing. If you remember when, he had MS and there was a big scandal about it. Here's my take on it, Randy. If Joe Biden not just doesn't run again, but steps down as president, people will see that as grace and sincerity and integrity. And that will earn back all of the respect people may have lost for him and more, and propel Kamala Harris into really just sort of a pre-audition for the presidency as she wraps up the remainder of Biden's term. What do you think?
You made a lot of assumptions there. Can't we just get through the press conference tonight?
Randy, I'm telling you, it's going to be. That's what I'm saying. I think Pete does this at the press conference.
No. So your answer is no. Okay.
He should He should resign at the press conference.
Why?
Because he's unfit to be president.
Why? Why?
He
do
has
you think
Parkinson's.
He does not.
He does, Randy. You're going to look like a fool when it comes out that he does.
No, I'm not going to look like a fool. When it comes out that he does, then I'll say he does. But until it comes out that he does, he doesn't.
So until someone tells you that he has Parkinson's,
Correct.
He doesn't.
That's right.
But as long as the disease is inside him, he does.
No, you're assuming that he does, and I'm saying that when they tell me that he's got Parkinson's, I will say, guess what? President Biden's been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
Okay, is there much of a significant difference between the official diagnosis and the symptoms?
Why is that foolish?
The symptoms.
Why is that
foolish? The symptoms.
Why is that foolish to you?
Because there is the only difference between a diagnosis and the disease is a word. You can have all of the symptoms of Parkinson's that have it undiagnosed.
Are you a doctor?
Yes.
You're lying. Why were you lying?
I am a doctor of pediatrics.
You're not a doctor. You're not a pediatrician.
Well, you're not a radio host.
Yes, I am. For almost 20 years. I have more experience doing what I do than your lie has weight, okay? I don't know why you're lying, and I don't know why you want to diagnose from long distance somebody that you've never met, never seen, never examined. I'm not really sure what your game is, but you lost. Go play someplace else. Go in somebody else's sandbox and kick, sand in their face.
Well, he definitely didn't seem that hostile when I took the call, but he obviously was a snake in the grass. But he said it'd be foolish for Biden not to resign. What would be foolish is for Biden to resign before we know if anybody would have a better chance than him. That would be foolish.
Look, it's just plain stupid to diagnose a person who's 81 and never have met them. I mean, that is just stupid. That's just dumb. If he's not up for it, I somehow think he will tell you he's not up for it. But to assign a label to somebody, a diagnosis to somebody that doesn't have a disease is very reminiscent of Hillary is dying. Do you remember that one? Hillary is near death. Hillary is passing out, and Hillary is dying, and Hillary is, she's not going to make. I mean, it's like the same thing. And people just keep repeating it and falling for it. And because he had, look, the debate was bad. There was no question. But the format sucked too, right? I mean, the mics were turned off, and they had him facing the wrong way. Look, it was a mess. The whole freaking thing was a mess, and it started all this. But if I had to choose between the Democratic policies, the policies of the Democratic Party, or Project 2025 and monitoring women's pregnancies and doing away with Medicare, and giving a $5 trillion tax cut to the people who need it the least and putting it on our tab again, and ignoring climate change and becoming a third world nation a la Houston. Houston today still has 1 million people without electricity from a Category 1 hurricane from last week. I mean, I don't. These are the choices, and I'm not going there. I'm just not going there, Max. Go play with somebody else. I'm not playing. Gary in Fort Lauderdale.
Randy, you handled that guy very well.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, he was a lunatic. I mean,
yeah, of course he was.
Yeah.
Probably a liar, too.
He was a liar.
So anyway, you might not like hearing this, but I have an employee, one of my captains. He's a 45-year-old guy. He's an educated guy. He graduated from college, worked as a cop and a fireman for a bunch of years. And I've been working on him to try to get him to vote for Biden. You know, he like looks up to me like a father figure.
Oh.
And so he calls me the other day and he says he made his decision on who he's going to vote for, and it's going to be Trump.
Oy.
And I said, well, why did you do that? And he says, well, following that debate, he says, I had to vote for Trump because I cannot see having a president who is so weak.
Right, I get that, and there's a lot of that going on. And there's a lot of that going around. My dentist is, right there in that little, cubby hole of, and a lot of his patients, he's telling me, who were going to vote for Biden, are now not going to vote at all, which is really the stand-up guy thing to do in the face of Project 2025,
oh my God.
and a congenital liar. Yeah, I mean that's really what you want to do, is be real courageous and not vote at all, not exercise the right. I mean, it's just so sick and sad what's going on. But, before we get to that point, I promise you, Biden will either resign and Kamala will be the incumbent president, or he will release his delegates to have a contested convention in Chicago, which will be 1968 all over again, which is what I predicted months ago.
All right, so if I understand what you're saying is you're telling me that he is not going to be so stubborn that he's going to insist on sticking in there?
Yes. If he sees no path to the presidency, yes.
Okay.
I think he loves this country more than any president I have ever seen. I think he
probably more than you and me.
Yes, and I think that he has a very, genuine beef here. I mean, people are pressuring Biden to quit after he was duly elected, and he's running against a guy who still thinks he's president. Okay, I mean, it's an amazing thing. Biden, Biden is the president, and they're saying give that up. Donald Trump isn't the president, and he still thinks he is. Do you know what I'm saying? He won't.
Randy, I honestly think that somebody got to him before that debate and slipped him a Mickey or something.
A lot of people think that. I have
that guy
absolutely.
Was out of it.
I have no evidence to support that, but
of course not.
I will tell you that most of my friends are overeducated people. I'm undereducated, as we all know. Okay,
not at all.
I am.
No,
I'm self-taught. Okay, is what it is. But
well, then you're educated.
Okay, but all of my friends with degrees in this and that, and law degrees in psychology and masters of social work, and all of it, they're all like dead set against Joe Biden. They're all like, it can't happen. And I'm like, listen, I think if he thinks he can do it, and if he sees a path, he'll do it. And if he doesn't, he won't. I really believe that.
I like that approach.
I do. And he's done an amazing job, and he's decent. So I'm going to give him every benefit of the doubt until 6:30.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
For nearly 50 years, this legendary institution, which is what it is, has been at the forefront of the conservative movement, helping lead the fight to defend our cherished American history, culture, and traditions. Our country is going to hell. The critical job of institutions such as Heritage is to lay the groundwork, and Heritage does such an incredible job at that. Encourage new thinking, embrace new directions, and keep Heritage at the vanguard of the conservative movement. I think tremendous things are going to be coming out of Heritage. Each of you here tonight, I ask you to think big, dream bigger, aim higher, get ready to work. I know how wealthy the people in this room are, so start shelling out to Heritage.
From right in the transition, we went to work availing ourselves of the resources available from the Heritage Foundation. We laid out plans for this administration. We drew on the scholarship and the resources of this historic think tank.
And that's where Project 2025 had been drafted. It's I mean, the only thing that they learned from the last failed presidency was that they should have, fired all the civil servants and put Trump loyalists in there, dismantled every single solitary institution, and put all of the expert advice in the Supreme Court and immunize the president from any lawless behavior that he chooses to engage in, including calling SEAL Team 6 and assassinating his political enemies. Wow, that's so American. I don't even know where to fly my flag. I mean, where do you celebrate, the great history, the great heritage of the United States when that's it's not even the direction. I mean, they freaking wrote it down. Even O.J. Simpson didn't write it down. Well, O.J. Simpson sort of kind of did write it down, but he couched it, remember? He wrote, "If I did it," and then explained how he done it. Do you know what I'm saying? But Heritage is like, they're full on board with this. They're literally showing you everything. They're telling you exactly where they're going to lead this country, and it is to Gomorrah. It is to hell. It is to an evil place. It is to an autocracy. It's to a place where we are now not aligned with Europe. No, we're now aligned with Putin, Kim Jong-un, and President Xi, and maybe a little slice of Modi in India. These are our new buds. These are our new friends in the world. What? I mean, people are just like, I hate women so much that I want to monitor their pregnancies, and I want Donald Trump to be, immune and let him kill all the people I hate. Is that it? Well, fine, but that ain't America. I mean, you could call it a lot of things, but you can't call it America. You can't call it democracy, and you can't call it this here nation. You can't call it the United States of America. You can't call it the U.S. You can't call it any of those things. None of it. None of it. But they're showing you everything. They really are. And he's saying, I have no idea what they've done. I don't know anything about 140 former Trump staffers from the old Trump administration. The one where 1 million people died of a disease because he just kept denying that it was killing anybody, and that it is what it is, and there's nothing you could do about it, and then just downshifted into it's a hoax. And none of this. And then, China did this. It was a virus from China. So if it was a virus that was, given to us as a weapon from China, what a failed president that was. What a failed dude. I mean, really, he's best friends with Xi, but he lets Xi kill 1 million Americans? Really? How do you hold both those thoughts in your head? I mean, that's just magnificent, really. That's quite a trick. That's better than the sand trick. I do know how to do that one. There's a little attachment that goes on your thumb. Just saying. But, I mean, he's trying to say, I have no idea. I don't know what they did.
Now, the man in charge of the Heritage Foundation is also someone that Trump is quite familiar with.
Oh.
I want to thank Kevin. He's going to be so incredible. Heritage Foundation president, somebody else doing an unbelievable job. He's bringing it back to levels it's never seen. Dr. Kevin Roberts.
What?
And here's how the Heritage Foundation's president described the project, as he literally shared the same stage as Donald Trump.
Our Project 2025 has developed a comprehensive policy agenda, but even more importantly, recruiting people, 20,000 people to go into the next administration, hopefully to help take back this country for you and for your audiences.
For you?
We want no credit. We want the American people, if President Trump is elected again, President Trump and his administration, to take credit for that.
The man overseeing the project itself signals that he will be there to implement it inside of a future Trump West Wing.
My name's Paul Dans, and it's my privilege to be with you tonight. I'm from the Heritage Foundation. My former boss, President Donald J. Trump, the 45th President of the United States. So I'm going to take this opportunity to say, hey, Kevin, it's been great working with you, but I kind of want to go back to work for my old boss. So I'm going to give you an official 10-month notice today. But praise the Lord.
Oh, good God. But we want to ask Joe Biden not to run. What? I mean,
I like how they're like, hey, and by the way, we don't want any credit for turning this into a hermit dictatorship state. Look over there. It's Donald's. It's all Donald.
It's all Donald.
Look over there.
But you know what? They are on the same stage. Donald Trump is actually there while this is being said. He's standing right freaking there. This Dan's guy, he is one of the 140 people that used to work in the West Wing, went to Heritage after Trump lost, although Trump doesn't think he lost, but they want to push Biden out, right? So Donald Trump didn't want to give up. Even after he lost, Joe Biden won, and they want Joe Biden to give up. Yeah, this is brilliant. How do people come to this conclusion? I don't know. But this guy, Dan's, he did work in the West Wing. Then he went to Heritage, wrote Project 2025 with a whole bunch of other people that worked in the West Wing. And now they're going to go back through the revolving door into the White House to implement Project 2025. Oh, my God. And Donald Trump has the audacity. I mean, it's amazing to say, I don't know anything about it. And if I did, I would disagree with it. What? He actually said that. He said, I don't know anything about Project 2025, but lots of parts of it I disagree with. What? How do you disagree with something you don't know? That's like being a pediatrician in Oregon that's never seen a baby. Do you know what I mean? Which is what we just dealt with. So, I mean, they're telling you everything. They're showing you everything. And if you're sort of, I don't know, got your panties in a bunch about Joe Biden not being able to convince enough Americans to vote for him, then trust me, Joe Biden will see that. He will know that, and he will not let Donald Trump win. Okay? I just don't. If you understand that it has to be Joe Biden's decision because he's done so much for so many for so long that he is entitled to make the decision for himself and this country. And I trust him to make the decision for himself and for this country because I think he really loves this country. And I think Donald Trump sees the presidency as a get-out-of-jail-free card and a big real estate boon. Okay? I really think that if Donald Trump became president, it would just be, he would obviously kill all of the cases against him. He would never, ever want to clear his name. He would just say he didn't do anything. He would never want to meet the bar of justice. He would never want to defend himself in court. He would never, ever want to clear his name. He would just, put all of his time and effort into two things and two things only. Golf clubs all over the world, and towers. Trump Tower Moscow would be back. You remember that, right? Trump Tower, Azerbaijan. You remember that, right? Ivanka does. She was decorating it. I mean, this is insane. This is really crazy that people are so terrified of Joe Biden's condition when that is Donald Trump's condition. You can see it. You can hear it. The guy is also addled. I have no diagnosis for what's wrong with him. But there's something so insanely wrong with him. All he thinks about is getting richer. All he thinks about is himself. All he thinks about is, staying out of jail at this point. And you're worried about a man who truly loves this nation. Truly, truly loves it. Believes in us. Fights for us. Gets results for us. Collected $1 billion from the richest Americans for us. In the Inflation Reduction Act, which not one single Republican voted for. Come on. You got jets going into Ukraine now. They're coming from Denmark. They're coming from the Netherlands. F-16s on their way. Just concluded the 75th anniversary of NATO, and somehow he's the bad guy?
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Why am I back? You may be asking yourselves. It's a very reasonable question. I have committed a lot of crimes. From what I understand, talk show hosts are granted immunity, so it doesn't... Doesn't make a lot of sense, but take it up with the founders. I don't know.
As good as my memory is, I don't remember that, but I have a good memory. So you don't remember saying you have one of the best memories? I don't remember.
I'm sorry. That was the wrong footage. That's the high-functioning candidate.
Jason Kelsey or Travis Kelsey?
Mama Kelsey. I understand she makes great chocolate chip cookies.
Fire everyone. Everyone. How do you go on TikTok and end up looking older? They are the oldest people ever to run for president, breaking by only 4 years the record that they set. The last time they ran. They are objectively old. They're at the age. There are no more age-related milestones to hit. The only thing left to them is a Today Show Smuckers shout-out.
Oh! God bless America, huh? This is where we are. I mean, it's just I don't make this stuff up. I mean, it is where we are. This is what our choices are. But one is a decent old man, and the other one is deranged and a liar and a thief and a cheat and a retaliatory bastard. Okay, who wants the Secretary of Retribution.
By the way, speaking to that clip, a lot of people are saying Gavin Newsom 2028. No, I say Jon Stewart 2028.
No, Jon Stewart isn't interested in being a politician.
We got to get him interested. He'd be perfect.
Why? Do you think he knows foreign policy?
I think he knows enough domestic, could be taught the foreign policy, could be taught the things he doesn't know. I think he would be amazing.
You can't be taught, how to run a NATO.
It was more charming. He would charm the pants.
Just stop. Jon Stewart is a comedian, okay? He is. And Donald Trump is a con man. So, they both begin with C. One is fun and the other one is, deadly. So, no, what you want for a president is a president, okay? That's what you want. You want somebody that actually understands the Constitution, is maybe, a constitutional scholar like, a Barack Obama. Well, he's term limited. What about Michelle? I'm hearing a lot about Michelle. I'm hearing, put Michelle in the polling. We like Michelle. We want Michelle. Seriously, people are losing their freaking minds. Their freaking minds. And I get it. These are our choices. It has happened. And, Monday starts the deranged Republican National Convention. And do you know who the delegates are from 7 swing states? No, you can't make this crap up. I mean, they are literally showing you everything they're about. 7 swing states, Arizona, Michigan, New Mexico. They are sending their fake electors. The fake electors, some of them are charged currently, they stand charged of forging their names to fake documents that claimed that they were the duly elected electors in Arizona, in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, and Wisconsin. They are now the delegates at the Republican National Convention. And all anybody wants to talk about is Joe Biden. And as long as that's the case, no one will know that the fake electors are the delegates on Monday in Milwaukee, a city Donald Trump hates. It's just too, colored for him. Election denialism is the price of entry in the Republican Party. Again, you have a man who wasn't elected, who won't give up the presidency that he wasn't elected to, and a man who was elected to the presidency, and you want him to give that up. Could you rethink for just a brief moment? Or at least until we got it's 4:12 Eastern time. I need to tell you this. I'm preempted tomorrow. So our show will not be on Free Speech TV tomorrow because they're preempting us. They want to carry the Netroots Nation Convention. Go with God. So they told me that they're going to preempt the show tomorrow, even though tonight is the, but till 6:30. It's 4:12 Eastern time right now, okay? So we have 2 hours and 15 minutes, and he's probably going to be late, okay? Before this solo press conference of Joe Biden's, which will determine whether or not Joe Biden is going to be the officially nominated candidate for the presidential nomination at our convention in August in Chicago. But the lunatic fringe is gathering in Milwaukee on Monday, and they have chosen the Secretary of Retribution. They have chosen fake electors to be their delegates. They have chosen Donald Trump to be their dear leader. It's a clown car of insanity, but somehow we're not prepared. Somehow there's something wrong with like I said, if Joe Biden was on life support and they wheeled him out to the convention stage after this press conference, if he decides that, and the whole party decides he did fine, he's okay, it was just a bad night. Maybe not. Maybe everybody will decide this is it, this is done, he can't win, and there is no path forward. And so we need to reorganize ourselves and either choose the vice president of the United States to be our nominee, or we have this blitz primary idea, which is, I'm down for the blitz primary idea if Joe Biden says, I need to, pass the torch. If Joe Biden decides this, because he's entitled to decide this for our country, he is, after all, the president. And he is entitled to decide whether he feels his shoulders are strong enough to carry the weight of the United States for the next 4 years on them. And if he says he can, he can. And if he says he can't, then we have to choose somebody else. And obviously, the next logical person would be the vice president of the United States. However, a lot of people in this country won't be happy with somebody being selected for the nomination who wasn't voted for the nomination. And it is because of that fact that I do like the idea of a blitz primary, which would include Kamala Harris, but would also include people like, J.D. Pritzker from Illinois, the governor. We have so many great governors, okay? Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan, a state we must win, okay? Pete Buttigieg. I would love to see Pete Buttigieg. He would kick Donald Trump's ass across the freaking stage. He does it every time he testifies on Capitol Hill. Every single time. They try and bamboozle him with, ridiculous lies and numbers and crazy, and he just sits there calmly and then debunks them in like 30 seconds or less. There's lots and lots of people out there. There's lots of good people who are part of our party that we could be very proud of as our nominee. And Kamala is one of them. Now, I've heard a lot of arguments, okay? I've heard a lot of arguments against each and every one of those names. Each and every. Shapiro from Pennsylvania, that's a must-win state, right? Brad Shapiro, he'd be the first Jewish president. Does America vote for a Jew? I don't know. Does America vote for a black Asian woman? Does America vote for a gay man? See, these are because our party is awesome.
I watched it on TV.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
What more should he do to shut this conversation down? Should he, as some people have suggested, just go ahead and take a cognitive test and demand that Donald Trump do the same?
I don't think that'd hurt, to be honest. But at the end of the day,
So you think that he should take a cognitive test?
I don't think it would hurt. But here's the thing. There's a chapter in my book. I talk about being a happy warrior. I talk about in a debate, I was encouraged to never forget that the person who looks like they're having the most fun wins. Certainly, the first presidential debate was not a great success for President Biden. But He is the happy warrior. He shows up every day and fights for the American public. He cares about other people more than he cares about himself.
Yep.
And that's precisely why I think this moment where we have Donald Trump, who's been convicted of 34 felonies, who cares only about Donald Trump, we can't lose sight of how high these stakes are. We have a field, and unless one person, Joe Biden, makes an alternative decision, this is the field, and we've got to go.
She's right. I'm so sorry about that, but she's right. For all the people out there that are nervous and scared and shaking and anxiety is riddling your, every waking thought. This is the field. This is the field of play right now. Now at 6:30, everything could change. At 6:30, it could be, that Biden comes to a cleansing moment of clarity for himself and realizes that it's time for him to relax a little bit. It's time for him to pass the torch. It's time for him to be a transitional dude, right? Or he can say, I got this. And everybody can look at him and say, he's got this. Either way, what we have is a person who is selfless, who puts the country first and always has. And if you can't wait, like an hour or 2 hours to see where we are, then, I don't know what to tell you, but the choice here is very stark. Okay. Both candidates are old. Both candidates should take cognitive tests. Okay. Both candidates have policies and plans for the people of the United States. One of the candidates has a policy to keep himself out of prison and a plan to take over every aspect of your life and put himself in it as an arbiter of what is and what isn't allowed to be said, what is and isn't allowed regarding protest, what books are and are not allowed to be read. And the other one is going to claw back billions of dollars from tax cheats, build a green energy grid for the 21st century, allow the middle class to thrive, create more ladders of opportunity by knocking out student loan debt that's been hobbling young people and not so young people for 30 years now, and level the playing field and make smaller the wealth gap. These are the choices. I mean, I hate to tell you that, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's very easy to pile on. I have to say, it's like, it's a no-brainer, right? You just look and you're like, I didn't like what I saw, therefore what? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump? I'm going to vote for a guy who hates this country, who fundamentally despises free speech, who fundamentally wants to punch people in the face that disagree with him, who wants a secretary of retribution, who has chosen fake electors to be his delegates at the Republican National Convention, who put his daughter-in-law in charge of the Republican Party. What is wrong with people in this country? What is wrong with you? I don't know. I don't know. I keep trying to understand. Yes, okay, people had a visceral reaction to a very, very strangely shot, strangely, guided. The rules for this debate, Joe Biden picked them. The Biden campaign selected these particular rules. The no audience, the mics get turned off. He wanted the podium on the right. Right? He wanted the podium on the right. I mean, the whole thing, it was all his choice. And it was whoever designed it made such a fire them. It's like Jon Stewart said when Joe Biden was on TikTok, putting himself squarely into the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, decision. And he chose Travis's mom, because she bakes good cookies. I mean, oh, please. I mean, fire everyone. Fire them all. But why are people thinking that, not voting for Biden isn't helping Donald Trump, or voting for Donald Trump is the choice that you now will make because the debate was terrible. But it was terrible for Donald Trump, too. Donald Trump just stood there and freaking lied. He lied uninterrupted. It was terrible for Dana Bash. It was terrible for Jake Tapper. I don't know how people aren't blaming them for not even inserting themselves into this fire hose of lies. It was such a heinous example of corporate media. I mean, if I ever, retired and then, one of the schools asked me did I want to teach a class in media or whatever? And I said yes. I don't know why I would, but if I did, right? I would use that debate as an example of what not to do if you ever make it to news anchor, okay? Or if you ever are a producer, an executive producer of a major, news show. Don't ever allow people to lie on your air like that. It's a disservice to the viewer. There's no point to it. Why would you allow that? Why would you sit back, relax, and let that happen on your freaking watch with your name on that particular hour or two? Why would you do it? Honestly, I mean, I don't know what the agenda is. I have no, insight into, people's emotional ties to this subject or that subject or what they feel about, the current president of the United States. But to let the former president of the United States, who is a world heavyweight champion to do that uninterrupted? Are you insane? And look at what's been going on for 2 weeks after, because you let that go onto the bridge. You let that pass. Speaking of bridge, okay, I just want to draw a quick comparison, okay? So you remember the Key Bridge in Baltimore? A cargo ship crashed into one of the pillars, and the thing just fell apart. You know that all that shipping is back? Do you know that the shipping lanes are open and everything is functioning? Do you understand that? Wes Moore, the governor of Maryland, and Donald Trump and Joe Biden were able to restore normal shipping lanes. We're able to. And Houston had a Category 1 hurricane, which is just a touch more than a tropical storm. And to this minute, 1 million people have no electricity.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Yeah, and besides for policy, I got 2 more words for you. Supreme Court. Yes. Supreme Court, I mean, we have an out-of-control, on-the-take, disgustingly corrupt Supreme Court. Giving immunity to a criminal to clear the way for his presidency. Oh, my God. People, do you understand? This is, like Biden calls it, an inflection point. It's not even a fork in the road. This is a choice between America and the American way, which is flawed and messy and difficult and a heavy lift, and it's disappointing to some, and some actually, rise to the top and fail upward, and it's frustrating, and it's like, why is that happening? Why? Or a nice orderly march to the camps. Oh my God. Really, this is where we're at. This is who we are now. We have a decision to make about, do we want a corrupt Supreme Court? Do we want all this money sloshing around in politics? This is the result, by the way, of all the money sloshing around in politics. And then, bribery is now legal. The Supreme Court said in this last session. Seriously, as long as you do it at the end of the dirty deed and you tip them out, that's a gratuity and it can't be taxed on top of it, right? And whatever you do as president, it's legal, even if it means SEAL Team 6, immune. I mean, what in the world do you think that's going to produce for you? That's the crazy thing. People actually think somehow it's going to produce something good for them. No, not a chance, pal. Not a chance. This is the best shot we got in the entire. America is the envy of the world. It is the apple of every other country's eye. Every country aspires to be us, to have this multi, ethnic sense of order, to have people who are really, immigrants from either way back or currently or trying to be succeed in a country where the laws apply equally to all men. It's the envy of the world. And then there are people in this country that are like, no, I don't. I want one guy. I just want one guy making all the decisions. It's too much for me. Democracy's messy. It sucks. Yes, democracy does suck, except for all other ways of governing. It's the worst, except for all other ways. Rob in New Jersey.
Hello, Randy.
Hi.
Hi. Question.
Yep.
Has anybody actually indexed this Project 2025 and put out the actual page where we can find some of the crazy stuff that's in there?
Yeah, you can do it yourself. All you need to do is, go to the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025. All 990 pages are there. And to look up anything that interests you, just use your keyboard and put your finger on Control and then put your other finger on the letter F. And then you'll get a little search bar and you put in anything you're interested in looking up.
Okay. That's pretty much it. The other question was, what's the path forward? And I think you pretty much answered it. For at least, if God forbid Biden has to basically call it quits.
Yes, he does, because he has to release the delegates, okay? And he's got 3,900 delegates, right? And we all know that it's about delegates. That's how you become the nominee. Now, normally you go to a primary, and when you vote, you're giving your delegates. You're saying, "I want the delegates to go to this candidate," right? And everybody in the party competes to see who can get to the promised land, the number. And Biden got there, but he got there big. He's got 3,900 delegates out of 4,000. Now, what you have are 4,000 delegates and then 700 super delegates. Those are the party insiders. Those are the past, right? Those are the past governors, the past House members, the senators. They're all super delegates. Now, the delegates are pledged to Joe Biden. But if you want to get all Hillary, people don't understand why I did that thing years ago in San Francisco, and I said what I said about her. It was because she was saying that the pledged delegates aren't really pledged, that you could, pick them off, and she could do that if she wanted to, because there's no law. She's not wrong, but that's why I said the bad thing about her, because it was really pretty low. But that is really the state of play. So if Biden didn't release the delegates, there is a maniacal way to throw this whole thing into disarray at a contested convention in Chicago, right? And the superdelegates could actually start to pick off and work the room and pick off it could happen. That would be the worst. We would be guaranteed to lose if that ever happened. So here are the other paths forward. Again, you got that blitz primary idea, which would have 4 primaries, they're not binding primaries, but they would be 4 debates, one in the North, one in the South, one in the West, one in the East, right? Moderated by, some people like James Carville suggested that Obama and Clinton, moderate the debate.
Would it involve all sections of the 50 states? In other words, you would divide up 50 states, but into 4 sessions, one by one by one.
Yeah, regionally.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, people would, have some involvement in it. It could build excitement. It could be like a spectacle, almost like, the Hunger Games without the violence, right? The other one is the natural next in line is Vice President Kamala Harris. And the third is what I just told you, either a contested convention, which would be a sloppy mess, or a unity convention where the party, and it would be the apparatchiks, it would be the delegates, and it would be the supers, pick somebody, right? And they all unify around that person. So there's your options.
What about this guy, Professor Alan
Lichtman.
How would that go along with his idea about the keys to the White House?
Well, you'd have to go pull up all his keys. I think there's 13 of them, and start.
I think 13.
I know one of them is incumbency, and you'd have to cross that off.
Right.
Right.
But if you had Kamala, maybe you could make an argument for her because she sat in the White House. In theory, has governed alongside him.
So maybe you give a half of Alan Lichtman's, key to Kamala for being an incumbent vice president. Maybe it gets half a key.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Randy. Thank you for that.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Oh, of course, I appreciate you too. Susan in Colorado.
Hi, Randy. I have loved you forever, and I've never called into a show of any kind.
Oh, wow.
So bear with me.
Okay.
I think I met you once in Boulder, but one of the things that I've kind of been going a little nuts over is if anybody take a look at the fact that Kamala is a black woman. What are we doing I voted for her in the primary. But the ones, it would be a dream. I'm from New York City. So, it'd be great to have a person of color, as they say, as the president. But isn't anybody talking about, Trump is already making racial remarks against her.
Of course.
But the thing is,
Hold on.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
The heat index hit 100 degrees today in Houston, where residents are rushing to distribution centers for food, water, and ice.
We have no food right now, nothing, zero.
The punishing heat is overwhelming a region still recovering from Hurricane Beryl. More than 1 million customers in and around Houston are still without electricity for a third day.
Okay. Is the criticism you guys are receiving, is it fair in your mind?
In my mind, it's not. We take a tremendous amount of pride in preparing for events such as this. And, I think we've done really great work.
CenterPoint Energy rolled out a new map to check the progress of restoration after customers were using a Whataburger fast food app to track outages near them.
You thought I made that up, didn't you? You thought I made it up. But no, I didn't make it up. They were literally, that is today. Today, you have 1 million people from a category 1, which is like just a tad over a tropical storm, without power, without cell phone connectivity. For 3 days, and it's over 100 degrees with the heat index, okay? Is that the future you want for you, for your grandma? Is that the future you want for your kids? I mean, what the hell? We've gone through the whole list, okay? The idea that protest would be illegal in a Trump administration. And you know that because he said when he wanted to clear Lafayette Square Park, he went and asked Mark Esper, the Secretary of Defense, if he could shoot people, if he could shoot them. We had little green men on our street, meaning they had no insignias. We didn't even know where they were from. Turned out they were from the Bureau of Prisons. We know that the way that Donald Trump wants to round people up and put them in camps in this country is by deputizing ex-military guys to serve under constitutional sheriffs. 75,000 ex-military guys to go raid everybody. And, when that happens, listen, you think I make this crap up. You really do. Okay, I'm going to play this for you. I didn't know where it would fit in. I just stumbled into it just now. This is an ex-Gorsuch law clerk. Yes, Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch's law clerk. Okay, his name is Mike Davis. And he's, one of these, bully attorneys now, one of these big-ass attorneys that wants to rearrange everything about America right now. And let me just play you, him laying out how glorious the roundups are going to be.
Mike, I've never called for lava to rain down from the heavens, but maybe upon Washington, D.C. Would you be that sweet red-hot lava for us?
I've never been called sweet, and you call me Sweet Ginger. So I think I'm in, Ben. During my 3-week reign of terror as Trump acting attorney general, before I get chased out of town with my Trump pardon, I will rain hell on Washington, D.C. We've talked about this, Ben. I have 5 lists ready to go, and they're growing. List number 1, we're going to fire. We're going to fire a lot of people in the executive branch and the deep state. Number 2, we're going to indict. We're going to indict Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and James Biden and every other scumball, sleazeball Biden, except for the 5-year-old granddaughter who they refused to acknowledge for 5 years until the political pressure got to Joe Biden. Number 3, we're going to deport. We're going to deport a lot of people, 10 million people and growing, anchor babies, their parents, their grandparents. We're going to put kids in cages. It's going to be glorious. We're going to detain a lot of people in the D.C. Gulag and Gitmo. And list number 5, I'm going to recommend a lot of pardons. Every January 6th defendant is going to get a pardon, especially my hero, Horn Man. He is definitely at the top of the pardon list.
This is a guy who needs a pardon himself, okay? This is some sick crap. This is some lunatic, fringy crap. But we're on the doorstep of making that choice, right? And choosing that over a messy democracy. Honestly. So we all need to understand like what they're envisioning in their little fantasies of what they can turn this country into. Kids in cages, grandma in a gulag. I mean, they're all about it. They're all about it. Anything that is cruel, anything that is unusual, anything that's torturous, anything that's bad, they're all about it. They're all about retribution and punishment and, getting even with people that they think are, not worthy of them. Get rid of them. We're talking about monitoring people's pregnancies. That's what they're literally saying that out loud. And, Jason Miller, who said, listen, the president will be neutral if states decide that they want to track pregnant women, they want to ban travel for pregnant women. If they want to monitor their pregnancies, the president will be neutral on that. How could you be president of the United States and be neutral on travel bans for American citizens simply because they're pregnant? I mean, what the hell are you talking about here? Project 2025, go look it up, do the Control F thing. Control F means control find. You'll get a little box. Look up Medicare and how they want to get rid of Medicare, okay? This is all part of it, right? Because they want that money. They want that tranche of cash. It's all about stealing, not just stealing your rights, not just stealing your freedom of movement, not just stealing, your ability to protest when you're angry or to have your grievances redressed. No, they want to steal money, cash. You look at Houston. I just showed you 3 days. They're in 100-degree heat. No one can live there. No one can freaking live there. And where was the governor? Where was the governor? He was in South Korea, knowing, because hurricanes don't come over, 24 hours. They were watching that Hurricane Beryl march across the Caribbean, into the Atlantic, into the Gulf. And then, bam! And he decided the best thing he could do was go enrich himself with some, car deal in South Korea. He hasn't even been there. Or we can actually be patient and wait till 6:30. It's 5 o'clock now, almost, and watch the solo press conference. And then decide, and believe me, the party is going to decide. The party is definitely going to decide because the people who are running are every single solitary House member, every single one. And the Democrats in the House are not going to give up the House. The House would be the only insurance policy we had against this maniacal Project 2025, right? And there's no way that they're going to go quietly. There's no way that they're going to give up the majority in the Senate. And the House is so close to, there's a 1-seat difference. We are so close. So there's going to be a lot of thought. There's going to be a lot of conversation. There's going to be a lot of discussion. There's going to be polling. There's going to be all kinds of internal polling. And it all comes down to Joe Biden. who we're very lucky it comes down to, because he's a decent man who loves this country more than probably most. He has hopes and dreams for his grandchildren. He has hopes and dreams for your grandchildren. He has hopes and dreams for this country, for this democracy, for NATO, foreign policy. He's not going to make the wrong decision, okay? He's just not. I could be wrong, though. I mean, it's entirely possible. However, just wait until the press conference. And then, I really wish we would be here tomorrow, but we're being preempted by the Netroots Nation Convention. So we'll have to regroup on Monday. And Monday is the start of the Republican National Convention, where, again, fake electors are their delegates for 7 swing states. Yes, the electors, the delegates for Arizona, for Georgia, for Pennsylvania, for Michigan, for Nevada, for New Mexico, and Wisconsin are facing charges, forgery charges, and penalties of perjury for lying under oath that they were the duly elected electors when they weren't. I don't know how much clearer, we can be about what the choice is here. See you Monday.